If your feet tingle at night, if your hands become numb without warning, or if you feel burning, stabbing, or electric pain no one can fully explain, stay with me. Because what you're about to hear could reveal exactly why your nerves are deteriorating and how to stop the damage before it turns permanent. This is not about covering up pain. This is about safeguarding your nerves while you still have time. Let me make this clear from the beginning. By the end of this video, you will understand the single most harmful toxin attacking seniors' nerves today. A toxin millions are exposed to every single day, often without realizing it. You'll know who's at risk, what's causing the damage, and what must change right away. I'm Dr. William Collins. For decades, I've treated seniors dealing with nerve pain, numbness, burning feet, balance issues, and a condition many are told they simply have to accept, neuropathy. And one of the most harmful things I see is how often people are given the wrong explanation. They're told it's aging, they're told it's genetics, they're told it's inevitable. In many cases, that belief is completely wrong. So, let me ask you something directly. Have you experienced tingling, numbness, or burning in your hands or feet? And were you aware that blood sugar can silently damage your nerves even if you've never been diagnosed with diabetes? Share your answer in the comments because awareness is the first step of protection. Once nerve damage crosses a certain threshold, there is no reset button. Let me tell you about a patient named Frank. Frank was 68, newly retired and still active. But at night, his feet burned. During the day, his toes felt numb. Without warning, sharp electric pains shot through his legs. He was told it was aging, maybe circulation, maybe just one of those things. But when we looked deeper, we found the real culprit, a daily exposure. Something Frank believed was harmless, something slowly poisoning his nerves. When we removed it, the damage didn't magically reverse, but it stopped progressing, and that changed the trajectory of his life. Now hold on to this question. What was that poison? And how many seniors are unknowingly feeding it every single day? To understand that, you need to understand how nerves actually work. Nerves are living tissue. They are not wires. They depend on oxygen, nutrients, and stable internal chemistry to survive. And unlike skin or muscle, nerves repair themselves painfully slowly. Damage builds silently. Long before pain, tingling, or numbness appear, the injury is already underway. And this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. The most destructive poison attacking seniors' nerves isn't some rare toxin or industrial chemical. It's not even alcohol alone. It's something far more common, something many seniors are encouraged to consume regularly. The most dangerous nerve poison today is chronic blood sugar toxicity. And here's the critical part most people never hear. You do not need diabetes for blood sugar to destroy your nerves. Repeated spikes are enough, and millions of seniors experience those spikes every single day without realizing it. When blood sugar rises too high, sugar molecules begin attaching themselves to nerve fibers and to the tiny blood vessels that keep those nerves alive. The result is inflammation, oxidative stress, and gradual destruction of the protective coating around the nerves. Signal quality breaks down. First comes tingling, then numbness, then burning, then pain, then instability and loss of balance. One of the most dangerous myths in senior health is the idea that neuropathy just appears out of nowhere. It doesn't. It develops quietly, often over years, while the poison keeps working in the background. Let me ask you something important. Have you ever been told you're borderline diabetic, pre-diabetic, or that your blood sugar is a little high but nothing to worry about? That is often where nerve damage begins. Research now shows pre-diabetes damages nerves nearly as often as full diabetes. The difference is simple. Most people with pre-diabetes don't know they have it. Now, this is usually where people push back, but I eat healthy. Almost every patient I see believes that. And that's exactly why this keeps happening. This poison isn't obvious. It hides inside foods and habits that sound healthy on the surface. Here's how the damage unfolds, step by step. You eat something that spikes blood sugar. Your body releases insulin to move that sugar into cells. Over time, those cells stop responding. Sugar stays in the bloodstream longer. The nerves most vulnerable, the long nerves in your feet and hands, are exposed again and again. The tiny blood vessels feeding those nerves begin to fail. Oxygen delivery drops. Nerves slowly starve. And because this process is gradual, people don't connect the dots. They say it came out of nowhere. In reality, it's been building silently for years. Now here's the next question you should be asking. If blood sugar toxicity is this destructive, why doesn't every senior with high blood sugar develop neuropathy? The answer comes down to three factors: how often the exposure happens, how long it's been happening, and how resilient the nerves are. Some nerves tolerate abuse longer than others, but once damage crosses a critical threshold, symptoms surface and progression often accelerates. So, where is this poison coming from in everyday life? The first major source is liquid sugar, fruit juice, sweetened coffee drinks, sports drinks, even so-called healthy smoothies. Liquid sugar hits the bloodstream fast because there's no fiber to slow absorption. That creates sharp spikes that directly injure nerves. Seniors are often told juice is easy nutrition. In reality, it's one of the fastest ways to damage nerve tissue. The second source is refined carbohydrates eaten alone. Bread, cereal, crackers, rice, pasta, especially without protein or fat. These foods break down into sugar quickly. Seniors are told to eat foods that are easy to digest. What that really means is rapid sugar release straight into the bloodstream, straight onto nerve tissue. The third source is constant snacking. When insulin stays elevated all day, nerves never get a recovery window. There is no reset, no repair time, just continuous exposure. There's no recovery window, and that's exactly why constant grazing is so damaging to nerve health. Nerves survive on stability. Continuous sugar exposure keeps them inflamed, stressed, and unable to repair. Now here's a piece of the puzzle most people are never told. Certain medications can quietly accelerate nerve damage by blocking nutrient absorption, especially B vitamins. Acid-blocking drugs, some diabetes medications, and cholesterol medications can slowly drain B12 levels over time, and B12 is non-negotiable for nerve health. It maintains the protective coating that allows nerves to send clean signals. Without it, nerves weaken, misfire, and deteriorate faster. Let me tell you about Susan. She had numb feet for years. Doctors blamed aging. Nothing was done. When we finally tested her nutrient levels, her B12 was dangerously low. The cause wasn't her diet. It was a medication she had taken exactly as prescribed for years. Once that deficiency was corrected, the nerve damage didn't reverse, but it stopped progressing. And that single change altered her future. That's an important point. Neuropathy is rarely caused by just one factor. It's usually a combination: blood sugar toxicity, chronic inflammation, nutrient depletion, and impaired circulation. But blood sugar toxicity is the accelerant. It's the gasoline on the fire. And this matters because nerves have a tipping point. Early damage shows up as tingling or numbness. Later damage brings pain, instability, falls, and loss of independence. Once nerve cells die, regeneration is extremely limited. That's why stopping the poison early matters more than chasing pain relief later. This part needs to be said clearly. Neuropathy is not always reversible, but in many cases, it can be prevented from getting worse, and that alone can preserve mobility, balance, and quality of life. Which brings us to the real question, and this is where the conversation shifts. If blood sugar toxicity is the poison, what neutralizes it? What actually protects nerves? And what changes can realistically stop nerve damage from progressing? This is where people expect complex answers: extreme diets, expensive therapies, miracle supplements. But the truth is far simpler, and that's why it's often ignored. The most important step in protecting nerve tissue is stabilizing blood sugar, not aggressively lowering it, not chasing perfect numbers, keeping it steady. Nerves don't need perfection. They need consistency. Every sharp spike in blood sugar acts like a small chemical burn to nerve tissue. Fewer spikes mean less injury. Less injury means slower progression, and in some cases, stabilization. That brings us to the single most important rule I teach seniors dealing with neuropathy. And it's a rule most people have never been told. Never eat carbohydrates alone. Not fruit, not bread, not crackers, not cereal. Carbohydrates eaten by themselves flood the bloodstream too quickly. Blood sugar spikes, insulin surges, and nerve repair shuts down. But when carbohydrates are eaten with protein or healthy fat, absorption slows dramatically. The very same food that damages nerves when eaten alone becomes far less harmful when eaten correctly. This single rule explains why some seniors develop severe neuropathy while others don't. Even with similar diets, the difference is often not what you eat, but how you eat it. Let me give you a real-world example. James was 74 when he came in. By early afternoon, his legs felt weak and unstable. At night, his feet burned. During the day, his toes were numb. He was convinced he was eating clean. Every morning, he drank a fruit smoothie, banana, mango juice, yogurt. What he didn't realize was that the liquid sugar was hitting his bloodstream before his muscles and nerves had any protection. We removed the smoothie, replaced it with eggs and vegetables in the morning, then moved a small portion of fruit later in the day, eaten after a full meal. Within weeks, his nerve pain eased, his balance improved, his energy lasted longer. Nothing miraculous happened. We simply stopped poisoning his nerves. The second major step is eliminating liquid sugar completely. No juice, no sweetened drinks, no smoothies. Even so-called 100% natural juice is concentrated sugar without fiber. Fiber is what slows absorption and shields nerves. Without it, sugar hits fast and hits hard. Seniors are often told juice is gentle, easy nutrition. In reality, it's one of the fastest ways to worsen neuropathy. If you want fruit, eat it whole in small portions and never on an empty stomach. Fruit eaten after a meal is far safer than fruit eaten alone. This single change can significantly reduce nerve irritation. The third step is nutrient protection, and this part is critical. Nerves depend on specific nutrients to maintain their structure and function. At the top of that list is vitamin B12. B12 maintains the protective sheath around nerves known as myelin. Without it, nerves become exposed, fragile, and prone to misfiring. Many seniors are deficient in B12 without realizing it, especially those taking acid blockers or certain long-term medications. But B12 isn't the only nutrient nerves rely on. Magnesium supports nerve signaling and helps reduce cramping and twitching. Folate works alongside B12 to protect nerve tissue. Alpha-lipoic acid helps reduce oxidative stress in nerves and has shown benefits for neuropathy in some individuals. These nutrients don't reverse nerve damage, but they help stabilize and protect what remains. Now, here's an important caution. More is not better, and in some cases, more is dangerous. Certain vitamins, especially B6, when taken in high doses, can actually worsen nerve damage if used incorrectly. This is why testing matters, guidance matters, guesswork can do real harm. The fourth step is reducing chronic inflammation. Inflammation makes nerves hypersensitive. It amplifies pain signals. It turns mild nerve irritation into burning, stabbing, relentless discomfort. Highly processed foods, refined seed oils, and excess sugar all fuel inflammatory pathways. On the other side, foods like fatty fish, olive oil, vegetables, and anti-inflammatory spices such as turmeric help calm the nervous system at a cellular level. Less inflammation means quieter nerves. The fifth step is movement, but not the kind most people fear. You don't need intense workouts to protect nerve tissue. In fact, aggressive exercise can worsen symptoms. What nerves need is circulation. Gentle walking, especially after meals, lowers blood sugar and improves blood flow to the nerves. Even 10 minutes can make a measurable difference. When done correctly, movement becomes medicine. Now, I want to address something critical. Many seniors feel discouraged when they hear that nerve damage heals slowly. That's true. Nerves regenerate at a glacial pace if they regenerate at all. But stopping progression is just as powerful as reversing damage. Less pain, better sleep, improved balance, fewer falls, those outcomes matter. One of the most harmful messages seniors receive is that nothing can be done. That belief becomes dangerous. I've seen people give up early only to deteriorate faster because the poison was never removed. Let me leave you with one more real example. A woman in her early 70s came to see me using a cane. She felt unstable and terrified of falling. She had been told her neuropathy was permanent. When we stabilized her blood sugar, corrected nutrient deficiencies, and removed liquid sugar from her diet, her nerve pain decreased enough that she no longer feared walking short distances. She didn't become pain-free, but she regained confidence, and that changes everything. This brings us to a crucial point. Neuropathy is not just about pain, it's about independence. It's about being able to feel the ground beneath your feet, react without hesitation, and trust your own legs. When neuropathy advances, the risk of falls rises sharply, and falls remain one of the greatest threats to senior health and longevity. That's why timing matters. Early nerve damage responds far better than advanced damage. Tingling and mild numbness are not verdicts. They are warnings, signals that something needs to change while there is still room to act. So here's a simple, practical way to take control over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Remove liquid sugar completely. Pair every carbohydrate with protein or healthy fat. Eat fruit only after meals and in small portions. Walk for 10 minutes after eating when possible. And if you haven't had your B12 levels checked, ask for it. Do not change medications on your own, but be aware of how they can affect nutrient levels. Then observe. Pay attention. Many seniors notice less burning at night, improved sleep, and steadier balance. Even small improvements matter because they tell you the damage is not yet locked in. Let me be very clear about this. Anyone promising a miracle cure for neuropathy is not being honest, but anyone telling you nothing can be done is also wrong. The truth lives in the space between those extremes. Neuropathy is usually the result of years of silent damage. It makes sense that improvement takes time, but stopping the poison is always the first step.